So I have a Great League remix video for you. I didn't get a chance to really play much over the weekend, and I really wish I did take advantage of it. So I'm running a team in the Great League remix leading Serperior with Alolan Sandshrew, Safe Swap, and Toxapex. So per usual on my channel, I'm trying to run something a little spicier. So this is probably not the best recommendation for you, but I was actually pretty surprised how well this team performed for me when I was playing it. So I wasn't really jiving with what was happening in the Great League remix. And if you're new to the channel, I've been struggling a little bit this season. I mean, I've definitely made a lot of mistakes with counting and such this season. I need to step it up a little bit. It's one of my biggest weaknesses currently in the game upon returning is trying to be a little bit more confident about my counts and such. But also just, the nature of running Spice. It's already an uphill battle. I feel like I need to play a little bit sharper to make these teams feel like they're at least doing something. But anyways, what I'm trying to get across here in this battle is this is actually pretty good in this situation just because I have the Toxapex lined up with Annihilate. Toxapex was actually performing pretty good in this format, but I wanted to make a team that didn't struggle with Carbink. And I'm not saying that everyone's running Carbink in this format because they aren't. But when I was messing around with teams, I did find a couple Carbink teams with Carbink closers or Carbink leads. And I just decided to form a team that can deal with Carbink, but also can, get a little bit spicy with my Alolan Sandshrew. But yeah, so this season's been a little difficult for me. I mean, a big part of it too is just trying to grasp the metas, counting properly, and then playing when I'm actually enjoying the formats. But yeah, this is a free win right here. I just wanted to include this set primarily because this is my very first set with this team. In this next battle, I get a Mantine lead, not the best case scenario. I'm going to actually safe swap into Sandshrew to generate a little bit of energy. And they do end up having Annihilate, which isn't great, so I'm just going to throw a Night Slash and take the L on the switch there. From here, I think I actually bring in the Serperior, and most times they're running Night Slash, Shadow Ball. I'm just going to tank the first move. It is a Shadow Ball, which would have been good to shield that, because now I'm going to have to... I guess I just decided to let it go, because I knew I could probably just barely live a Night Slash. I think they do get the boost here too, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, at this point, it's kind of a tough position in the battle, because the Annihilate's kind of wrecking havoc on the team. And we have Mantine, and I'm not entirely sure what the backline was. Mantine isn't like impossible to flip here. It's just that we're going to be taking a lot of damage in the meantime, and that's not necessarily the best for us. So I will throw the Sludge Wave, and it does do a decent chunk, but they'll be able to connect Aerial Aces 4 days. And yeah, I'm going to have to commit a shield, which is unfortunate. They will be able to connect this second Aerial Ace, which is going to put me in the red. And from there, they do have Carbink. So I guess I got punished by that Carbink still, even though it's trying to make a team to beat it. I think the big part of this match was just bad lead, bad switch. But, it is what it is. It happens. So next battle, I get Hisuian Quillfish lead. I decided to safe swap into Alolan Sandshrew. And most people just never respect the Alolan Sandshrew. I do have some interesting battles here today, and I will have a video for tomorrow as well. But they decided to bring in Cresselia here, which I wasn't really sure why, because this is just a good situation for Alolan Sandshrew. I can spam with the Night Slashes, I can tank majority of the moves. I mean, I can tank all the moves from Cresselia. They still will chunk over time, but Sandshrew can outpace for the most part and threaten this Cresselia with way more damage than it can output back. So this is great. I'm going to commit a shield against Crest and then continue on my way. So from there, we get the Quillfish in, and I guess I could have thrown the bait, but I didn't think they would shield. But of course, why would they risk it when they have 2 shields? So good call on their end to commit the shield. I could have baited, but that's just like a personal decision not to risk it. I mean, I don't know. It's probably better to get that shield, honestly, regardless. But yeah, so my Toxapex against the Quillfish isn't the worst. We do have to commit a shield against the Shadow Ball, but from here, I can remove it, thankfully. And if I think this person has Clefable in the back, if I remember right. Yeah, and they just end up leaving the match. GG. All right, in the next battle, Stunfisk. This is a great lead for me, and they end up having a Serperior switch, which is also amazing for me. So I'm going to use this as to my advantage. Also, a side note, ladies and gentlemen, one of the main Pokemon or types that this team was struggling with whenever I was playing it was fire leads. I saw a couple Salazzle, Croconar, I don't remember what it's called, whatever Skeledirge's middle evolution is. I've seen a couple of those, and those were very problematic for the team, just because I don't have a great safe swap, so we kind of have to sacrifice Serperior in that situation. But yeah, not the worst case. I mean, granted, I was just making this team for fun, and granted, I wasn't expecting to do so well with it. And I did these battles yesterday, and upon doing the battles, it really made me wish I took more time over the weekend to push with Go Battle League weekend. You know, I've been playing very casual. You know, I've been trying to make content again for fun, entertaining. And I saw this whole discourse on Twitter this morning discussing about the skill level between 2,500 players and hitting legend. Why is it so hard now, etc. There was a discussion between It's Accent and DJ Enterprise on Twitter. And you know, from my own personal experience, I do feel like the competition's definitely gotten more difficult. But I think from the reason why I'm stuck where I'm at currently is a mixture of, one, I'm running Spice majority of the time. Two, I'm not playing the best I can when I'm playing in the Spice, meaning counting every single move so I know exactly where we're at in the match. That is a huge part of getting good at Go Battle League. And then also, you know, like energy preservation, sack swaps, all that stuff. But that like kind of all ties in with like move counts as well. But that in itself is one of the hugest game-changing things you could do to really up your skill in Go Battle League, which I think I still struggle with for sure. Because I just don't count all the time. I'm more of a feel type of player. I've always been that way. There are certain times I do count. But majority of the time I'm playing my sets, I am not counting whatsoever. I'm just playing based on feel, how I remember things, and that's not the best way to go about playing the game. But also, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I made a video discussing this thought process recently. It was my Charizard video in the Great League that I recently posted. I was just talking about how the competition has gotten a lot more difficult. People are more primed to run meta very frequently. You really have to pay attention to meta adjustments as they're occurring in the format and such. But we're playing a blind format. You know what I'm trying to say? At the end of the day, this is still a blind format, and maybe there's an optimal way to play in a blind format. But if that way to play is not actually fun for a majority of players, then it's a tough cookie. It's an interesting place to be. I mean, I'm in no way sitting here saying that, if you've been watching my channel over the last couple months, I'm here for fun nowadays. I'm just trying to enjoy myself. I'm not trying to get too sweaty about the game. But I have noticed that the competition has gotten a lot more difficult, and that does require you as a player to kind of reevaluate, what are you doing differently? You know, I can justify it to myself because I already know what I'm doing and why it's hard and difficult. And when I make misplays or mistakes, I can easily cite that as a reason why I could have done better. But I definitely understand the sentiment of why people feel there's an algorithm or that the game seems to reward people that spend money more, you know, because playing formats like Master League are actually some of the better formats to climb if you have the resources in the Pokemon, since there are more. This is the case with most metas and most games, is when you have a more set in stone meta with less options, it's a little bit easier to grasp and get better and master a format. But something like Great League, where there's so many options, and even within those options, there's still like these like very niche like teams that come out on top for a couple days and then they just fall to the wayside and they come back in popularity a week later or a couple days later. It's really tough sometimes to justify 100% that it's... I definitely think there's some luck still involved in hitting legend, I guess what I'm trying to say. I personally don't think it's worth caring about too much. I mean, my hats are tipped off to all the top battlers in the game, people who push leaderboard consecutively every season. Obviously, there is a way to play the game, right? You know, there's definitely a certain approach to how you can play the game. But for the rest of us that actually want to enjoy ourselves and have some variety or try something a little bit different, it is not... what am I trying to say with this conversation? It's not even a difference of like, you can definitely run Spice and hit legend. I don't know what I'm really trying to say with that necessary comparison, but ultimately the point I'm trying to get is it's not easy to hit legend in this game. And while there may be ways to improve your gameplay or certain Pokemon that you should be running every format, that still doesn't make the game necessarily a fair game. I know it, like, I feel like Pokemon Go is a game that definitely is imbalanced in regards to like we want a competitive game, right? We want a game that we can play and it feels competitive. But the reality is, you know, I deviate. I'm intentionally running some spicy Pokemon. I do have access to a lot of these more meta relevant Pokemon, but for other people who just join the game, that's not necessarily a reality. They can't just join the game and start pushing leaderboard. They have to actually grind the game for a decent amount of time first. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to get to, is there are people that hit legend every season and they do have Master League teams fully built with XL Pokemon. They have amazing Ultra League teams. They have options in a lot of formats, and even if they're struggling in a certain format, they might find their footing in a format that you're not playing because you don't have access to it, or you don't have the resources of the Pokemon to use. So I mean, at the end of the day, it is a video game that we're playing in blind formats, and while there's some pristine notoriety with hitting a legend in Pokemon Go, I do feel like some of these discussions about how some people can hit it in a week, even if they're low elo, that may be true. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it's just factual that maybe we're all just terrible at the game. Like all these other people are just gods, and they just aren't facing other people that are exactly the same person they are. I don't know. That's the one thing that is always intriguing to me about the discourse of this conversation is like, yes, I feel like if you consistently hit legend, you're definitely good at the game. There's no doubts about it. But to say you can hit legend in a week is kind of crazy to think. And it's not that it can't happen. It absolutely happens all the time. It's just like the guarantee that you can do it is really interesting to me. I actually would love to see that. I would love to see someone make that a video, actually prove that they can drop all the way down to like 2300, 2500, and within 1 week they can hit legend. I would love to see that. And I mean, like, granted, if that's the case, then I've been playing this game wrong, and I'll just admit that, like, I've been playing this game wrong if that's the case. Like, holy smokes, like, I don't know, I think it's kind of interesting. Like, I'm not in any way like if anything, I've been motivated from reading this discourse to get a little bit, to be a little bit more sharper about how I play the game. I mean, I was looking at the schedule for the rest of the season, and we have about like a week and a few days left of Great League Remix, and then Catch Cup, which I'm avoiding entirely since I have not been hoarding anything for that format, and then one last week of all the open formats. So I don't know. Like, I will admit that, like, I wanted to talk about the discourse on Twitter just primarily because, yes, there is truth to the fact that you do need to improve in the game to actually climb. It's not just the algorithm that's stopping you from winning the games. Sometimes you have to just reevaluate what you're doing and stop doing the same thing over and over that isn't working for you. And I tend to do that too when I'm running Spice. I just stick to the same line even though I'm getting like 3 2s, 2 3s, and then the occasional 1 4s, 0 5s. It can be a little brutal, you know? But I guess what I'm trying to say is, at the same time, I do feel like some of these people are just built different. I mean, whether it be just the level they care, the level they operate, functioning, playing the game. And also, I'm not like it's like a combination of being that person while also having access to all the things and tools they need to really optimize their level of skill. I mean, again, like in Great League, it's a little bit different just because most things seem to be accessible. I mean, granted, other than XL Pokemon are still kind of a pain for a lot of new players and such. Even old players sometimes struggle to get the XL they need for a certain Pokemon. But I guess I'm just trying to say that I personally, when I read these conversations, I know I need to still improve. There's always ways to improve. I mean, I think I'm a pretty decent battler. I've definitely played at a high competitive level in this game and have seen success. And there's no doubts in my mind that I've become way more lax, less prone to counting. And it's like, if I'm going to invest my time playing the game, I might as well take that extra little bit of effort to master the game that I'm playing. You know, why am I going to sit here and spend 2 hours a day and not even be counting the moves? You know what I'm trying to say? I mean, it's not always, it's important. Okay, it's very important to count moves. You're not going to be able to get past 2,500 or higher without counting moves. It's just facts. But I think that's my biggest weakness as a player. It's not even necessarily the spice. If I'm going to run stuff like this, I have to ensure that I'm optimizing my counts, my energy preservation, all that type of stuff. And, you know, arguably that might even take more skill to pull off teams like this in the format. But yeah, at the end of the day, what resonated with me out of this discourse is I could do better. I could always do better. There's no excuses against, like, I mean, I definitely can agree that the game does feel sus at times. Like, what is some of these teams people are running? But the reality is, even though it's a blind format, and I could sit here and say a blind format isn't that competitive, there are a lot of ways you can improve gameplay to take your Go Battle League battling to the next level. And maybe if you're someone that's struggling with counting, go to PV Poke. It's a great resource. You can actually show the number of counts for each fast attack, and from there it's just a matter of like ingraining it in your system. Like, if you're someone that already plays on feel and you do pretty well at that, by able to actually guarantee in your mind with confidence certain plays by counting, you will in fact see that you can like really just make some situations that maybe before you might have top left and left a battle early, you can flip matches that looked so bad. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, Pokemon's a really interesting game where this is how the main series game tends to be too, where you could be getting steamrolled in the first half of the battle, but you can find your footing in the second half and be able to pull it off. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of briefly discuss it because, I mean, not even like trying to write it off. Like, I still enjoy playing the game, and you know, I always say like I'm not trying to hit legend the past couple months. I'm just trying to make entertaining content and have fun, and that is true 100%. But something about reading this discourse, like I said, it does make me realize that I could even make it a little bit easier on myself. If I'm going to invest my time making content and continuing to play the game that like I am, I'd only make it easier on myself to climb if I'm at least embracing these basics of Go Battle League, instead of just like, you know, tossing out the rules out the window early on. So yeah, I guess let me know what you think about this discussion. I mean, do you feel that there's things you can improve that would help you maybe beat that crutch of the elo you're currently stuck in, or maybe you feel that this is all just BS? And I mean, I've seen people comment on my videos before discussing, they think that there's a favorability for people that spend money on the game versus not spending money on the game. You know, the thing that's really interesting about these discussions is, to me personally, the fact that they even exist, like these discussions exist. I don't know, like I'm sure there's other games that have similar discussions that involve microtransactions and grinding and such, but like imagine playing checkers versus someone and it's like you can't really make many excuses like why you lost that game. Or like, do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like, it's not, I think the blind format is what does it for most people, is that you're kind of just tossed into a scenario that you're still guessing, and by the time it's over, there maybe could have been a different pathway and you just didn't know it. So I think that's the reason why Go Battle League tends to give people this sense of there's an algorithm, or like Niantic's out to get you, or you're being stream sniped constantly, because the game just makes the player, like the player experience isn't that great. Like that's the reality of it. And I've talked about this for ages, how Go Battle League just makes you feel like trash whenever you're not doing good in it. And how could they change that? You know, could they change it by putting less emphasis on 5-set battles? Could they change it by creating a show 6 pick 3 format? Yeah, I think so. I think show 6 pick 3 is probably the best case scenario to actually make Go Battle League a competitive format, because in this situation, at least your decisions that you make for the team you brought are all on you. So, and it's like a poker game. It's like a poker game at the beginning of the match. I mean, that's why VGC is kind of interesting. And like, even with VGC, I think in Asia, they do best of 1 for their qualifiers for tournaments. And that's, even in the best of 1s in those scenarios, they still have, you still see the Pokemon at least. I mean, granted, I think, if I remember correctly, it's closed sheet, meaning that you can't, like, right now in the Western world of VGC, they have open sheet, meaning you can see items, moves, etc. But I think in Asia it's closed sheet, so you do a best of 1 battle against someone, but you can still see their 6 Pokemon before you pick your 4. So yeah, I don't know. It's something to think about. I think I don't know. I feel like they can't implement something like that because they're just bad at designing games. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like I feel like if they tried to add a feature like that, they would break Pokemon Go pretty much at this point. Like it just feels as if there's no way we're ever going to see a format like that. And granted, you know, I can dismiss aspects of Go Battle League and say it's a blind format, but there is a way to play a blind format still. And that's the whole point that a lot of these top battlers are trying to make, is regardless of the fact that it's a blind format and, you know, you can't run your favorite Pokemon in every format, there is a way to play that does still bring consistency versus not. I mean, a lot of times stagnation is just a matter of not being able to take those losses that could have been wins and turning them into wins. And that's the whole point I was trying to get across with the discussion in today's video. So yeah, with that being said, this last battle, I completely threw this, by the way. I felt as if I kind of made a mistake on what I switched in as my safe swap. But even with that being said, the interesting part of this is not even that I did that, but I actually found some scenarios where I could like kind of bring back. So I switch in Sandshrew here because I'm thinking, well, I need Serperior and Toxapex to deal with Annihilate. I really do need that. So I'm just going to try and do as much damage here into the Toxapex as possible. And, you know, this was looking better because I was thinking to myself, you know, this isn't great that I'm... Oh my gosh, right here is brutal. Me throwing that Blizzard into Aurorus was... Oh my gosh, I should have saved that. Yeah, there's like little things like that where I just kind of like drop the ball, because a Night Slash would have been significantly okay there. And yeah, at this point I bring in Sandshrew again just to try to throw the Night Slash, but I guess I was thinking I could maybe get to a Blizzard potentially, and yeah, pretty much I messed this up so bad. I could have connected this Blizzard. I even like saw this happening in slow motion. If I would have thrown that Blizzard, it would have done 89% damage, and I think I could have just barely won that, like just barely, and that could have been a 5-0. So GG's. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in today's video. Consider liking, commenting, subscribing. It does help my content out a lot here on the platform. And with that being said, the Sass Squad is getting stronger each and every day. Good morning, evening, afternoon, for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next one. And if you'd like to check out more Go Battle League content from me, consider watching this video right here or this video right here.